And wasn't it great to dance a little bit? At least I enjoyed myself very much, and it is a great way to connect with one another in a different way. All right, so here we are, the Miracle Healers Intensive, the Miracle Healing Intensive, but continuing with the fourth part of it. And I saw to my amazement that I don't hold myself to the schedule I made myself in terms of subjects and all that. So that's all right. It really doesn't matter to me. It's just different. And today there are two topics that I would love to bring in the idea of miracles healing. And one is that should healing be repeated as a question? And the other one, is there like an order of difficulty in miracles? Is one harder than the other? Is a cancer harder than a cold to heal, so to speak, or however you want to look at that? And so many aspects will be completely different if you really start to listen to what is being shared to us today, because it is all based on perception. On how are you looking at this? Where are you coming from with your considerations? What is occurring in you, and how aware are you of the defenses you have against healing and all of that? So that's kind of a challenging subject. But I love to work with it. And so I will use the Miracle Healers Handbook as we downloaded it, or maybe even printed it. And I will use a part from the Course in Miracles, from chapter 9, the acceptance of reality. It's the first section of it. The acceptance of the atonement is the chapter 9, and then this is the first section, the acceptance of reality. And see, all these subjects, all these topics, we have been looking at that. We have been studying that. We have tried to experience that. We have an even idea about what that is altogether. And so this is interesting now, because even your understanding you have to let go of in order to receive something new. That's just the way it works. And that is a healing in itself, to allow that to occur to you, to be open to receive something new. And so it can help. That part of it is from the Course in Miracles, which maybe you're not familiar with. So Joel Goldsmith will share this in a different way to us. He will touch the same subjects, but in a different way. So this might even be easier to listen to it, even though the vocabulary is different. And it is a different way of expressing it and looking at it. So see, that really does not matter in that sense. It is just for you. You will not understand what it says immediately, and you don't have to understand it in order for it to work, or in order for it to be your reality. You don't have to understand it. So, and this is basically what we always do when we come together. We first have to come into the place where we actually can receive this with one another. So the dancing and the relaxing and the releasing of some tension can be a great help to that. But as you follow me in this class, you feel that we're going down, so to speak, energy-wise. We're going deeper into our stillness and deeper into our hearing. It's like you're suddenly, from your ears, the hearing that you do with your ears is expanding to hearing this with your whole being, because actually you start to listen with your soul, like your soul is recognizing this automatically, because it is related, completely one with the reality. So, and that is coming to the stillness in yourself, that becomes more, then suddenly these words become more acceptable. And these words say you will receive them with more recognition, with more like, yes, of course. Yes, I understand what you're saying. I know that that must be true. So, and this is basically where we want to start the class. So that's why we always prepare a little bit, and we do that right now too. So you don't need your considerations, you don't need your concerns, you don't need your thoughts about things, your opinions, or your political choice, or your social status, or your, you name it, or your stigma that you carry with you, or you don't even need that either. So you can come with completely open mind, open heart to this, to receive something new, to release all tension and fear, because what is going to be presented is your reality, is helping you to accept your reality, is accepting you for who you are. And that is something that you have to do yourself. Like, I cannot change your mind for you. So here we go. We literally hold hands together to become receptive, to stay and sink deeper into listening to the still small voice. That is a still voice that is speaking to us on a moment by moment basis, and it tells us, say, in words of love, it tells us in the recognition of the love that you are, about ourselves, about our source. And the direct expression of that is your experience of it. So that's why it's so nice to come together and actually dive right in there, if you know what I mean. You dive right into the place where you start to experience more than start to understand it, because you don't know what to think about this, and that is okay. You don't know, like, this is controversial in that sense. It is the opposite of what you believed as a human being. So it's quite something for you to let go of this idea that you hold about everything that you assume to be normal. So that is with the chapter 9 part, the acceptance of reality, the same story. So I'll read some of that to you, because it's very helpful to become aware of where you're actually not doing that, or where you actually have an opportunity to undo some ideas that are just in the way, that you didn't even know about. So, in other words, this has a great healing capacity. The acceptance of reality. Fear of the will of God is one of the strangest beliefs the human mind has ever made. Fear of the will of God is one of the strangest beliefs the human mind has ever made. It could not possibly have occurred unless the mind were already profoundly split, making it possible for it to be afraid of what it really is. Reality cannot threaten anything except illusions, since reality can only uphold truth. The very fact that the will of God, which is what you are, is perceived as fearful, demonstrates that you are afraid of what you are. It is not, then, the will of God of which you are afraid, but yours. It is actually your will that you're afraid of. See, this is a very profound and basic feeling, so to speak, of fear, a threat to yourself. Reality cannot threaten anything except illusions, since reality can only uphold truth. See, and truth is always related to you, to your true nature, to the love that you are. You know, so that is coming from there. It can never threaten. So I'll skip a paragraph. If you do not know what your reality is, why would you be so sure that it is fearful? The association of truth and fear, which would be highly artificial at most, is particularly inappropriate in the minds of those who do not know what truth is. So that's a very good question. If you do not know what your reality is, why would you be afraid of it? Like, you immediately assume that that must be something you're afraid of too, because in your human life, there's so much that you're afraid of. So reality must be threatening too. It's like costing the whole world you see, doing this and that. And who knows what's happening if you step right into that. So see, the acceptance of reality is something that you are going to do at a certain point. You know, when you're ready to do that, when you don't, when you're not threatened by it anymore, it is immediately there for you. And that is the amazing thing about reality. You know, it's like you can read about it and you can have your ideas about it, but these ideas are actually totally in the way of accepting the truth for what it is. And it's happening basically on a different level too. So it's like, no, this is part of you. This is an extension of you. It is not something that that you can think of, or that you can have opinions about. Like, no, I don't like truth because of this and that. No, that's not working at all. So that's not what truth is. So your ideas about it are not about truth, but are just like the glorification of your own ideas, if you want. So that's why the healing capacity of this part is incredible, because basically it invites you to drop your defenses against it and see that there cannot be any threat in reality, since you are literally made of it. It is an extension of you. So it's so inherent in you, it's so part of you, and you cannot separate yourself from it. Only in your illusions about yourself can you feel for a moment that you are separate. See, and we did some training. We read some books. We contemplated the truth of who we are. I and my Father are one, or whatever phrase is close to you that you take with you. Like, you had a recognition with these words. And now here it is, it's like, okay, so it's not just accepting these words. No, it's literally going one step further now, allowing that reality to become like a real experience to you, seeing that it's not just words in a book or given to you by a Jesus that lived 2,000 years ago. No, it's literally here right in front of you, and it's inviting you to accept itself. See, and that is the beauty of healing, of course. And that is the beauty of accepting reality for yourself. So if this healing, we're talking about healing here, should healing be repeated? If we're talking about this healing, accepting this reality for ourselves, if we accept that for ourselves, do you think that needs to be repeated? No. No, it should not be repeated, because once you have accepted it, it is truth to you. That's the beauty of it. It's like it is coming home to yourself. Once you have come to home to yourself, that has happened. That becomes an actual experience for you. So the fear that was connected to the ideas that you had about it disappeared too. They dissolved into nothing. Really. So that is the invitation of today, and also the answer to the idea of, is healing, should healing be repeated? It's like, no, that should not, that's not necessary, because once it has happened, it is there. You remember. So the Miracle Healers Handbook We're going to use that now to read more in depth about this. And so get your book out. Should healing be repeated? This question really answers itself. Healing cannot be repeated. If the patient is healed, what remains to heal him from? And if the healing is certain, as we have already said it is, what is there to repeat? For a teacher of God or practitioner, whatever, somebody who demonstrates this, to remain concerned about the result of healing is to limit the healing. It is now the teacher of God himself whose mind needs to be healed, and it is this he must facilitate. He is now the patient, and he must so regard himself. He has made a mistake and must be willing to change his mind about it. He lacked the trust that makes forgiving truly, and so he has not received the benefit of his gift. So here's the confirmation, and here's the certainty. Whenever a teacher of God has tried to be a channel for healing, he has succeeded. Should he be tempted to doubt this, he should not repeat his previous effort. That was already maximal because the Holy Spirit so accepted it and so used it. Now the teacher of God has only one course to follow. He must use his reason to tell himself that he has given the problem to one who cannot fail, and must recognize that his own certainty is not love but fear, and therefore hate. His position has thus become untenable, and he is offered hate to one to whom he offered love. That is impossible. Having offered love, only love can be received. So it is really like, so that's another point we come to in a moment. So it is really about giving this. It's like giving healing, giving remembrance, so to speak, to whoever is with you, so that you can join in that together, like we do in this moment. It's like if you doubt what you give, you have a problem with that. The healing took place. You don't have to be concerned with that. The healing took place because everyone who is actually the channel for healing get all the support for that all the time. So you never have to doubt that. And that is stated here nicely. So it has to do with, you have to deal them with your own doubt about it. If you think, well, I'm not sure if it works, I really don't know, then you have a problem with that. And that you have to see that that's a mistake that you made, because you didn't recognize that you were not even the one doing it, that it came through you. You were just the channel, so to speak. You were just the one who was the instrument for this. But the source behind that, behind you, the source through you is your certainty. It has nothing to do with your ideas about it. So here's one more part that I want to bring in. One of the most difficult temptations to recognize is that to doubt healing because of the appearance of continuing symptoms is a mistake in the form of lack of trust. And as such, it is an attack. So one of the most difficult temptations to recognize is that to doubt healing because of the appearance of continuing symptoms is a mistake in the form of lack of trust. So what are we doing with that? That's interesting to know, isn't it? So you offer healing to someone, that appears to have some kind of physical something going on. And now the next step then is you gave that healing, but you hear that the symptoms stay. that a week later you get a call and it's like, well, I didn't get over it. I don't know if it worked. And so the hardest thing for you then, at least that's what it says here, is like one of the greatest temptations is then, I'll repeat it exactly how it is stated. One of the more difficult temptations to recognize is that to doubt a healing because of the appearances. So first you have the healing going on with this physical form. You offer a healing that takes place. You actually don't heal that, but you come into the recognition of your oneness. You come into the recognition of your wholeness and see that healing is certain. And then a couple of days later, you hear that something still is there. So what are you doing with that? Are we just negating that, ignoring it with, well, I'm certain it works or something like that? So we'll see what it says here. As such, it is an attack. Usually, it seems to be just the opposite. It does appear unreasonable at first to be told that continued concern is attack. It has all the appearances of love. Yet love without trust is impossible, and doubt and trust cannot coexist. And hate must be the opposite of love, regardless of the form it takes. Doubt not the gift, and it is impossible to doubt its results. This is the certainty that gives God's teachers the power to be miracle workers, for they have put their trust in Him. The real basis for doubts about the outcome of any problem that has been given to God's teacher for resolution is always self-doubt. So that is where it has to do with then. So let me organize this a little bit and see what happens. See, we come together in one of the other classes in like how does healing work in regard to the timing of it. When does it actually when is it allowed to happen? When is it allowed to be presented? When do you offer a miracle? And when do you do that not? You know, so this is something that we take a look at in the next class, because that is very interesting to see how that works out. But here we have to deal with something else, which is you're doubting what you have been given, what you actually received yourself as a gift. You start to doubt about that. And that can happen, you know, it's not unusual. But so what do you do, of how can you take a look at that for yourself? Is that actually that you see that is self-doubt? And see all these, there's no mistake in that whatsoever. So the fact that this is happening for you is another opportunity for yourself to come to the healing yourself, even on a deeper level for yourself, to see that there's absolutely nothing to doubt about, that you can stay in that certainty because you are not performing this. You are the instrument. You are the one who shares the gift and receive the gift at the same time, together with the one who is with you. So that is good to remember. So what I mean to say then is that to stand still with this for yourself and allow a healing to occur for you, for say healing your self-doubt if you want, is a very lovely act, because it will give you the opportunity to embrace this even more for yourself. You know, and that is so cool. So it takes also the discipline to do that. If you doubt what has been, you know, what has gone wrong in your appearances, in the way that you perceived all of this. So that is always good to do that, to stay in the let's put this on the table, and I want to share this with the Holy Spirit, so to speak. I want to hand this over. It's like, hey, I'm actually doubting what is going on. Please help me. And to see that that is another opportunity for you to come into the experience of, no, nothing went wrong. Here you have it. Here's your gift. Here's your communication with everything that is. See, all these steps in which you learn something or have something undone are actually lovely lessons, instead of the human lessons that were, hard or difficult, or a lot of sacrifice or effort. No, this one it is just being ready to receive that gift. And the gift is then always a gift of loveliness, a gift of grace, really. And that makes it so incomparable to human learning. So once you see that you are being confirmed and that nothing went wrong, and that you absolutely gave everything by receiving that for yourself and by extending it to your brother, you also see that that you actually never can doubt this anymore for yourself, because you receive that gift for yourself. Like that learns the quickest, so to speak. That's very convincing if you start to experience that. So that is really beautiful. So now we go to the second part of the class, which is there's no order of difficulty in spiritual healing. It starts off with this. As a miracle healer, you remain alert in the certainty of your enlightened mind that the miracle does nothing. It is always only an undoing of the meaningless order of conceptual thought that was your sick and dying self-identity. The belief in order of difficulties is the basis for the world's perception. It rests on differences, on uneven background, a shifting foreground, unequal heights, diverse sizes, on varying degrees in darkness and light, and thousands of contrasts in which each is seen competes with each other in order to be recognized. A larger object overshadows a smaller, a brighter thing draws the attention from another with less intensity of appeal, and a more threatening idea, or one conceived of as more desirable by the world's standards, completely upsets the mental balance. What the body's eyes behold is only conflict. Look not for them for peace and understanding. So I love that. So it's like order of difficulty, order in the first place, like a hierarchy of everything, of differences, is of course something we were raised with, and needs undoing. So there's no order of difficulty in miracles is not understandable for the human mind whatsoever, because the way that you were taught is so much in differences, like comparison, analysis, more and less, black and dark, black and white, dark and light, and on and on and on and on. So it is beautiful. Here's a beautiful description of that in the Miracle Healers Handbook. But see, the fact that you come in touch now with this idea that there's no order of difficulty, that means, like, I used the example of cancer and cold. It's the same idea. Like the idea of a cancer or the idea of cold still stems from the same mind, stems from the same conceptual source of associative thought. You know, it's like it's all association. It's all mind work, so to speak. It's all what you can come up with as a human being. It is your frame of reference that's in the way of all of this. So, and that makes healing, generalized, so to speak, very easy, because there are no differences. There is only the fullness of living. There's only perfection. And everyone has a reference to that. Everyone has a reference to the idea of perfection. So, and we strive for it as human beings to have things perfect. And some get really, say, neurotic about it. It's like, it should be perfect, or I cannot accept imperfection, or this or that. But see, the thing with healing then is the acceptance for the miracle worker is then to see that there's such thing as perfection, and that is given to us. That is a given. It is not something that we can reach. That we don't have to reach for that, so to speak. It is just simply there. So then one hallucination is not bigger than the other. I think it was in here too that I read something. Like it really doesn't matter if you hallucinate. I think I shared it on the website. I really don't know anymore. It's like the fact that you're hallucinating makes it that you think that it has a reality to you. So to think a little bit in terms of illusions or hallucinations doesn't make a difference. It's all hallucinating. Like it's the general idea behind it. It's not reality. So to accept reality for yourself is a whole different thing. It has nothing to do with your ideas and your looking for differences and your comparisons. So yeah, here we go with our healing. So we sink still deeper into our healing capacity and come to the place where healing can take place. See, and that is then a very individual. You're literally invited to cross a bridge in that sense, a bridge of trusting. You know, trust is really the bridge to receive the healing for yourself, to let go of differences, to let go of your comparisons, and to recognize that you're hallucinating, that you think that there can be such thing as an hallucination or a sickness or a lack. So one of the things that is always amazing to me is how information that appears to come from outside are actually being received by you. So there can be like an idea of sickness. If that comes close to you, if you get a diagnosis of someone who is telling you that you have this or that, you see what happens in your mind. And that's really interesting to take a look at for a moment, because it is literally opening up all kinds of registers with scenarios. And that is so amazing. You know, you've like, oh my God, I just got this. I'm diagnosed with this. Whether it's a small or a big one, it really doesn't matter. It's like, I'm diagnosed with this. Then you have all kinds of scenarios that come to your mind and are literally already opening up. You'll make this whole story about it already. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't. It is just an automatic response of the human mind to emergency situation, what appears to be an emergency situation. So it's interesting to take a look at what you're doing and seeing that you don't have to do anything with that, with all these scenarios. So the healing that can take place even in situations like that is to recognize them as, oh, look at what my mind is doing. Say, to still take a look at what your mind is doing. And at the same time, bringing in a true idea for yourself to literally fill your mind with that and not allowing anything to to come to intrude upon that. So that can be a very lovely phrase which confirms your identity in everything that is, in God. Like my holiness envelops everything I see. Like my mind's completely filled with truth. Like I'm whole and perfect as I was created, or I and my Father are one. There's literally no space for anything else. So, and to keep that idea with you, like connected to your feelings in your heart, to your love for it, for God, is where healing literally takes place, because you don't have space for that in your mind, for anything else, for no scenarios, for no outcomes, for no future plans, for no future scenarios, for nothing like that. And of course, you forget that. And then suddenly you feel concerned about it again. And then you have another opportunity to let that come into you again. I'd like to remind yourself of all that what is given. And then the healing power that is connected to your whole ideas are total. They are total ideas that keep you right there. Like I have some profound experiences with that by bringing that into my mind. My mind holds only what I think with God. Like that is for me working as a healing phrase, not as a magical mantra or something. No, it is a profound experience that is given to me when I allow that to affect me completely, and allow that to heal me, to let that stay so close to my heart that I can be replenished by it all the time. Because you see the temptation to think differently, to think with your human mind again in situations that are pressing in a little bit more on you is very tempting. But to not allow that by bringing in something that completely fills you up, so to speak, with wholeness is something with an amazing healing power for you. See, and you become more and more aware when the mind is slipping off, so to speak. So, and of course, when the mind is slipping off, you dive into a whole scenario of fear, like you literally take a detour into fear. So that is always available for you. Like the world is screaming it at you, and if you want to see it like that, it's literally inviting you, tempting you to think like that. You're being bombarded with information that has nothing to do with your real identity, with your truth. So yeah, we just read too that there's no need for you to be afraid of reality. What you made of the idea of reality, you might be afraid of, but truth will never upset you. Like truth will always set you free. Truth will always give you peace. And truth is what you are, coming from the extension of the love that you are. I think that is the truth. So another way of dealing with situations that are very tempting to you is also, how can I give in this moment, to come into the action of mind of giving again? How can I serve at this moment? How can I give in this moment? How can I be truly helpful? You know, all these things are very helpful to let your mind stay in the activity of extending and projecting love instead of fearful ideas. So this love will come back to you as a reflection too. And so you literally give to yourself. And that is coming back to you. You literally give to yourself. And the amazing thing is that is totally helpful for the ones that you meet too. So you come into the recognition of our oneness. You join with your brother. you see that there are no differences, even though they might look different or have a different background, but it doesn't really matter at all. So you recognize oneness in all of us, one. So are you starting to be healed by this? Are you starting to be healed from your ideas? Are you releasing some false ideas you held about yourself? Did you become aware of something new this time? That is like, oh my God, that's so in the way. Yeah, I'm so happy to let go of that. I don't need to do that any longer. Or the opportunities to deal with specific situations in which you are being tempted to think that you are this thing walking around that can become ill, and that can happen, this can happen to it, and that can happen to it. Are you becoming aware that there's more to this than you could ever imagine? And that there's a healing power available to you that restores all true ideas in you and helps you literally to release the untrue ideas you held for a moment, to see that they literally melt like snow in the sun. Well, that's wonderful. That's so great. I'm so happy to extend this to you, so that we can share in this new communication and see that healing is so natural. To receive a miracle is natural. To see that we are one and come into the communication is so natural. This is the way that we know we can be together. So, and that's always worth a celebration. That's why I love to start these sessions with a little celebration, with a moment of, yes, we come together and dance. Yes, I'm so happy that we do this together, and that we can celebrate the truth of who we are, and not having to dive deeply under the ground to seclude ourselves because we have a secret. No, we can celebrate this in openness. We can do this just here, exactly where you find yourself. That is so great about this. So let me see if I got all of it out of the Miracle Healers Handbook. And for sure not. So you will have to read it again yourself too. Okay, so I'm reading something. There can be no order of difficulty in healing merely because all sickness is illusion. Is it harder to dispel the belief of the insane in a larger hallucination as opposed to a smaller one? Yeah, this was the sentence I put on the website. Will he agree more quickly to the unreality of a louder voice than he hears then to that of a softer one? Will he dismiss more easily a whispered demand to kill than a shout? And do the number of pitchforks the devils he sees carrying affect their credibility in his perception? His mind has categorized them all as real, and so they are all real to him. When he realizes they are all illusions, they will disappear. And so it is with healing. The properties of illusions, which seem to make them different, are really irrelevant. So the properties of the illusions are really irrelevant, for their properties are as illusory as they are. The body's eyes will continue to see differences, but the mind that has let itself be healed will no longer acknowledge them. There will be those who seem to be sicker than others, and the body's eyes will report their changed appearances as before. But the healed mind will put them all in one category. They are unreal. And this is the gift of its teacher. with a capital T. The understanding that only two categories are meaningful in sorting out the messages the mind receives from what appears to be the outside world. And of these two, but one is real. Just as reality is wholly real, apart from size, shape, and time and place, for differences cannot exist within it. So too are illusions without distinctions. The one answer to sickness of any kind is healing. The one answer to all illusions is truth. And here's a little part from from the workbook lesson 152. I'll read that too, and then see what happens. And no one can suffer loss except it be his own decision. No one suffers pain except his choice elects this state for him. No one can grieve, nor fear, nor think him sick, unless these are the outcomes that he wants. And no one dies without his own consent. Nothing occurs but represents your wish, and nothing is omitted that you choose. No one can suffer loss unless it be his own decision. That's lesson 152. Wow. So are you stirred up by this? Are you hearing something new? So to read this Miracle Healers Handbook can be really helpful to repeat those ideas in yourself, to see how this is set up for you to be undone from illusions about yourself. And at the same time, see, it is never the reason just to undo. So the great thing is there's immediately something in place of that. The undoing is just a little part. The undoing is just creating space for more experience of the love that you are, of your reality. So that's so different. You know, that's what I love about doing this. It is not just that something is going to be taken away. No, this is undone literally because it has no reality. So that reality comes into your awareness more than anything. And you can enlighten your mind with that and see that there's literally light instead of darkness, and that there is no such thing as limitation and sickness. But see, that does not work the way that you think it works. And that is always the difficulty with teaching. It's like I cannot teach you that. It is literally an experience. So the total loveliness that's being presented by coming in touch with who you are is what this is about. And that is a total you experience. And it's being offered here. It's being offered in this book. It is, you give that to yourself by standing still and listening to this, by reading it for yourself and suddenly discovering that you're being touched by this, and feeling that in the release of your defense against yourself or in your fight against yourself, in the release of that fight, you suddenly discover the love for everything that is. So that is an amazing gift. And that's what's being offered here now in this Miracle Healers Handbook, in this class, to you. So thank you for joining me in that and being available to celebrate that with me. Thank you so much. I see you soon.